Okay, guys, so this is a part one style exercise called multiple choice cloze. So you need to fill each of the gaps with one of these options. So for gap one, you've got these four options. Gap two, these four, so on and so forth. Okay, so it says here, why will some people pay good money to be scared out of their wits? Now, this is the example, example. So zero is always the example, so you don't need to worry about that. So pause the video now and try to answer all of the questions, okay? So it says, why will some people pay good money to be scared out of their wits? Scared out of their wits is like a saying, and it means like to be scared crazy, to be like really, really scared. As someone who has seen just one horror film in their life, this never ceases to like nunca cesa de, or say like never stops, ceases. So you could say here, never ceases to amaze me. That would fit. But in fact, we don't actually have the word amaze. So it's always a good technique, guys, to think about what could go in the gap before you actually then look at the options. So I would say this never ceases to amaze me. And then I check my options: daze, baffle, elude, and defy me. Unfortunately, never ceases to amaze me is not going to work because we don't have that option. But we do have a synonym, which is never of amaze, which is baffle. To baffle somebody, to confuse somebody, means the same thing. Daze is more like physical. Like, for example, you could feel like in a daze, like you can't see properly or something like that. Elude is like, I don't understand it. Like, this information is elusive, so that doesn't really work. And defy, like, for example, if a child is defiant, clean your room. No, I'm not going to clean my room. So that doesn't really make sense in this context. So the more, in my opinion, the most common one would be it never ceases to amaze me, but amaze isn't an option, so we have to choose the closest option to amaze, which is baffle, okay? To baffle somebody. Okay, you can keep your horror film, you can keep your horror to be something. I would rather have, so that's really easy, honest. Yeah, there's nothing difficult there, to be honest, okay? I would rather have surgery without anaesthetic. But according to psychologists, the fear we is safe. The fear we crave, the fear we wish, the fear we yearn, or the fear we long. Now, if it was long, we would have to say, I long for something. Same with yearn. I yearn for something. Yeah. And the fear we wish doesn't really make sense. And also you'd have to say, I have the fear we wish for. But here we don't have a dependent preposition at all. So our only option is crave, okay? The fear we crave, like the fear we really want. Like, for example, when a woman is pregnant, we say she has cravings, right? Like a really strong desire for something. I don't know, ice cream or whatever it might be, okay? Cool. Let's move on. We know that when the film ends, we'll be unharmed. Horror films make our hearts something. Our hearts shake, not really. We don't say our hearts shake. Our hearts batter, no. Our hearts pound. Our hearts knock. So this is a case of collocation. Yeah. What verb do we use to describe the action of a heart? We could say my heart beats, my heart pounds, like when it's beating, but very intensely. Okay. Cool. Let's move on. And that's part of what something to us. Now, here we have a dependent preposition. Now, that's important. So, part of what attracts to us, attract to somebody. You don't say, this attracts to me. This engages to me. We say engage with. Entices to me. No, we don't say that. This entices to me. So the only one we've got there is appeals. This appeals to me. So, for example, this idea appeals to young people. I don't know. This style of clothing doesn't appeal to old people or whatever it might be. Okay. So as you can see, guys, what we did there was process of elimination. We said that's not possible. That's not possible. So the only one we've got left is the only one that can go in the gap. So it's always important to consider all of your options. Okay. And try each option in the gap. Okay. Cool. So the dependent preposition was the one that determined the answer there. Okay. If our lives are uneventful, we seek excitement. In fact, it's good for our nervous system. A study carried out in 1995 showed that the higher people on a scale, something on a scale, Okay, so in English, you score on a scale. Yeah, so that's the answer. You score on a scale. For example, he scored very highly on the IQ scale, or he scored very highly, in this particular test. So on a scale, you score. For example, I went to have my BMI tested, and I scored very highly. No, that's not good, but I scored very highly on that scale. Okay, so that's a case of a collocation, because score is the correct verb for the noun scale. So that's a verb noun collocation. Okay, let's move on. That measures sensation seeking. The more likely they are to be fans of horror films. People in their teens and 20s tend to seek out something experiences. So we need something to go with experiences. Severe experiences, burning experiences, intense experiences, or fierce experiences. Intense experiences. Again, it's a collocation. You don't really talk about that was a severe experience. That was a burning experience. You can have like a burning desire or a burning drive, but not a burning experience, or a fierce experience. You wouldn't really say that. You could have like a fierce attitude or a fierce approach, but not really a fierce experience. We don't really say that, okay? So let's move on. And this makes them the biggest audience for horror films. That usually something with age. Maybe we start to realize that real life is scary enough. So I think the idea is that it drops with age. It kind of like decreases, it goes down with age. So as we get older, this intensity drops. So pales with age, disintegrates with age, dissolves with age, or fades with age. Now, pales with age, for me, talks more about the color. And I don't think that we're really talking about a color here. So like, for example, my jeans went pale in the wash or whatever. They lost their color. Disintegrates, like se hace pedazos. So I don't really think that's the idea. Dissolves, se disuelve, like, I don't know, sugar in tea or something like that, or in coffee. So I think the only option here is fades, like disminuye, or, desaparece con la edad. Okay, good. Well, I hope this information is helpful for you guys. And any other videos you'd like on any topics to do with English, please just let me know. Thanks.